Welcome, Imiie, to the School of Integrative Healing podcast. So for those of you that don't know, which is probably most of you listening to this, Imiie, I'm like probably everyone, Imiie is a student in the School of Integrative Healing, and she has very, very kindly accepted and decided to come on today to share her story around her healing, around her relationships. That's going to be a big thing we talk about today, as well as kind of what made her say yes to investing in herself, investing in the healing work, and ultimately taking the leap of faith into the School of Integrative Healing. So welcome, beautiful, beautiful Imiie.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I'm so excited for this.
And I think we're just going to dive straight in. I'm just going to start asking you questions. So I was saying to Imiie before hopping onto this call specifically that, you know, she was just sharing with me a few of the things that she's got out of the last few months. And I was just thinking to myself, you know, women need to hear this. Like, women need to hear this. And I'm so excited that you're actually going to share a very personal kind of reflection on your life and what this work has taken you to. So Imiie, just to start with, what made you decide to embark on your healing journey?
Good question. So thinking back, I think it started around 16, 17. I started to listen to a lot of Tony Robbins. So it was very much like the mindset side of things, and understanding the true power of the mind and what you can achieve through just reframing thoughts. So that's really what got me started initially. And I'd say for a good few years, that was kind of how it started. And then, gosh, that was like 10 years ago. So I'd say like 3 years ago, I ended a very long-term relationship. And so that pushed me even more into the personal development side of things. I started reading a lot more. And it's surprising how you were saying that stories can heal you. It's so true. I healed so much just from reading books. And at the time, I probably didn't think I was healing because I didn't think I needed healing. But it's funny that we'll touch upon that after. But yeah, I think it was when I went to Bali in 2020, it really opened me up to so many new things. Like, I had a big spiritual awakening, and I think with that came a lot of healing as well. It's like increasing my self-awareness as well around that. So it was great because I was learning from books, from podcasts, from YouTube videos, from people that I had randomly met that taught me breath work, for example. That was something that was completely new to me, and I didn't even know that that was a healing modality. So yeah, I think it just kind of like little by little, I was picking up things left, right, and center. And that's really how I got started. But my main focus was on positive thinking and mindset. That was like how I kind of propelled forward in that space. And it wasn't until I'd say last summer when we used to mastermind together. And I was really like, it opened my eyes to the world of like energetics and how mindset is great, but it focuses just on in your mind, in your head, and it doesn't link with your body. And from what I've learned from you and what I'm continuing to learn is that our body stores so much. It stores everything. It's like a library of everything that's ever happened to you in this lifetime and all lifetimes before. So it's really, really interesting. So it wasn't until last summer that I really started to learn more about the energetics and kind of combining both together. I enrolled in your 4-day immersion to really get a taste of it. And like the shifts I experienced in that was profound in just that weekend. So that really was like the next level. But since there wasn't sort of like accountability and a mentor, it was just like the 4 days and then it was done. And if we have the initiative, we can carry on doing it ourselves. But like that rarely happens in my case anyway. So yeah, I felt like after that experience, I wanted to go deeper and deeper. As you know, when you're on this path, you kind of always just like going down all these rabbit holes and you just want to like get to the next level. And I just felt like I was getting stuck because my knowledge and the tools that I knew at the time were great and had led me up to that point. But I think I was really ready to take it to that next level. And that ties into when I decided to join IH and make that investment in myself. Which, yeah, I think at the time, at first, I didn't think it was the right time, but it's funny that sometimes you just have to take action anyway. And looking back, it was honestly the perfect time, as is everything when you zoom out and see things from like a more spiritual lens. So yeah, I think that was really how I got started, and what kind of pushed me through the IH into the IH world.
Love that. There's literally so many things that you've just said that I want to tap into. I think we're going to start with kind of what you said initially. I mean, there's a couple of points. I want to talk about the combination of mindset and energetics and the body work, because it's got to be that combination. And I also want to talk about something that you said that's so funny, because I think a lot of people think this, I don't need healing. And the truth is that all of us need to do the healing work. And our mind comes up with excuses. And actually, you've used two perfect examples to kind of go into how the mind comes up with excuses and that blocks us from doing what's actually best for us. And the first thing that you said was that I don't need to heal is a great mental excuse to not do the work. And the second was, it's not the right time. I'll do it when it's the right time. And then you actually do it and you look back and you're like, oh yeah, no, it actually was the right time. I was just scared. So let's go into that first thing that you said about, I didn't think I needed to do the healing work. Tell me more about that. Why did you not think you needed to do the healing work, and what's changed your mind?
This is really interesting. And it took a lot of reflection for me to actually like reach this kind of summary or conclusion. In my mind, and this is obviously 3 years ago, me speaking, I thought that healing was a very like deep thing. So I thought it was only for people with mental health issues like depression and anxiety. And I didn't associate with those labels. So for me, I was like, oh, I don't need healing. I already have a positive mindset. I'm already like in a good mood most of the time. I know how strong my mind is, and I was very in control of my mindset at the time. So in my head, I was like, there's nothing to heal. And I thought I had healed by like journaling and stuff, like writing out how like my thoughts were and what I was feeling, and like going through a breakup, just like standard things that you think you do to heal. And for me as well, actually, I will add that looking back, traveling heals you so much too, because you're open to so many new experiences. You meet so many people, you learn so many new things. It opens your heart a lot. And that's honestly like probably one of the most important parts of healing, is opening your heart. So yeah, that's my answer.
So you didn't think that you were someone that needed healing because you didn't have a mental health condition. And I think that's really interesting, because a lot of people will say, I don't need healing. And I know even from my story, coming from mental health problems, maybe a lot of people think that to join the School of Integrative Healing or to join any healing school, that you need to really come from a struggle, or you really need to come from something's going bad. And it's not true. And we talk about this a lot in IH, in the fact that healing isn't just because you're in a bad place. It's like, how can I live more? How can I have better relationships? How can I have more joy, more money, better inner talk, more love with myself? And ultimately, we do a lot of trauma work in integrative healing. And I think a big aha moment for people that join this school, become part of the family, is like, oh, I have trauma. And it's not that much of a big thing, right? Yeah. So what would you classify now as the healing work? Because you're saying it's something that you wouldn't have done before. What do you think's changed from what are you doing now in comparison to when you were doing the mindset work? What are you doing on top of mindset?
Definitely the embodiment, connecting with my body. I was so disembodied and I didn't even know it. And that's like a lot because of conditioning and how society says that we should like run our lives, always just like doing, going, achieving. And so I feel that in addition with personal experiences like ending relationship, etc., really pushed me into my masculine, because I didn't want to rely on anyone. And so I feel that the masculine mainly is like all up in the head, organized, structure, go, and feminine is more like embodied and flow and ease. And those three words were like non-existent for the longest time. So I think, yeah, like it all came from like increasing my self-awareness about the topics. And luckily enough, I have a great community of people around me who are all on this path. And so I get nuggets of knowledge from everyone, and I kind of piece it together. And I gained so much from when we used to mastermind together as well. And it was just, yeah, just definitely the embodiment stuff that I'm doing in addition.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I teach a lot of mindset in integrative healing as well. And I love mindset. I love the mindset work, but it's like you're saying, it's not complete. And this is a lot of the work that we do in integrative healing. You know, like I said in the introduction, integrative healing is this blending of these modalities. It's this blending of these dimensions of healing, because we're not just mind. And actually the healing happens in the body, right? And so when Imiie was saying that she was completely disembodied, for those of you that don't know what that means, that's when you're so in your head that you're not connected to your body. And so there's a big part of healing. You know, we tend to think that healing is analysis, and it's not. Sometimes healing is just feeling. And if we're not connected to our body and we're just doing the mindset work, then we're not connected to our feeling. And so then we've kind of got this whole realm of the healing work that we're not doing, right? And so I love that you came into this, not because you were going through a particular struggle, you know, the breakup happened before, not because anything was bad happening in your life, but just that, you know, there is more, and I want to do more, and I want to explore more, and I want to connect to more of my body. And that's why investing is really just this gift to yourself instead of something to do when life has got desperate. Because I think so many people, and I know I'm one of these people, only come to this work when they're desperate, right? I came to this work because I had so much pain that I needed to do something. But you've come to this work just because of desire, right? And I think that's so inspiring for people listening to this, that this work isn't just because you've hit a rock bottom. It's because you want to live more of life and you want to give more to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I actually remember it just came through the voice note that I sent you when we were discussing integrative healing last summer. And I remember saying, like, I'm already living my dream of life. Like, for me, working online, traveling the world, being in a conscious relationship. Now I've got a puppy, like everything in my life has been everything that I've dreamed of. So, and I was already very grateful for that. And I remember telling you, but like, I know that there's more. And that's really what I wanted to tap into. And I was like journaling on this earlier. The thing that I think really pushed me to join IH was because I was getting stuck in that level of like, this is what I'm able to do on my own. And now I'm really ready for the next level. And so that is why I joined IH.
That is why.
Yeah, and I love it. And I think it is a shame, but most people don't make decisions until it hurts too much. And I don't know if it's just like everyone's different. And I know from a young age, I kind of grew up very quickly and I became very aware at a young age. So like I was saying before we started recording this, I used to observe people so much. So I learned a lot through other people's actions, through other people's results, and through other people's mistakes. So I didn't have to go through those mistakes myself to experience that pain. Like watching them go through it was enough for me to learn that lesson. But there are people that have to do the experience of it in order to learn that lesson. And so obviously there's a difference there, but I'm sure some people can relate to this type of experience too.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we do have to learn through experience, but I also think that sometimes we justify investing in ourselves, we justify spending the money because we've really struggled. And I think that's the paradigm that we want to start breaking as a society, right? You're not worthy of course, you're not worthy of investing in yourself just because you've really struggled, you know? So it's allowing yourself to have that investment regardless of what your story is. And it doesn't matter if you've had to hit rock bottom, because I've hit rock bottom so many times. It's just knowing so many times. It's just knowing that that's not the only way. And ultimately, when we come away from our rock bottom, and just to tap into what you're saying more about, you knew that there was more, but you couldn't get to that alone, because we have our kind of almost ceilings that we can get to alone, right? And then when we work with coaches or we're in containers, it bends time for you to get to your next level, right? That you might not even know that exists because your level of consciousness isn't there yet. And so, you know, I used to have this philosophy that I had to do everything on my own. It's actually a trauma response. I had to do everything on my own. I had to do everything on my own. And actually, it was such a relief when I learned that mentorship is so healthy for us. And it's actually kind of going back to primal ancestral roots, you know, in our old kind of tribal cultures, there's always this framework of mentorship, and we've kind of lost this in our modern world. So I love these coaching containers. They feel like this new concept, but they're actually just a replica of something that we've always had, right? And that, understanding that as humans, we do need these frameworks, and we do need mentorship to help us get to the next level, if you want to call it that, or just to live more or something different, right? So we've kind of really tapped into why you joined integrative healing, but more so than that, you know, you said that you're in this really good place, you're living your you're living in your dream life, and you had a puppy. I love the fact that you included a puppy. I'm a big fan of dogs. So you've been in the School of Integrative Healing for 4 months. What have you got out of this? Because I'm going to guess these are things that you would not have expected before joining.
100%. It's so interesting because always like hindsight is a gift, because you can actually analyze and reflect back on so many things. I'd say there's a few. The first thing, which is a short point, is my mood has increased and improved so much. So like, I would say it's not just my mood, it's like my standard, how can you say, like your, like the mood that you feel on a most regular level, like your average mood, let's say, has like shot up so much. And I've really tapped into more of that joy and fun, which is something that I hadn't felt in so long, which is really weird because I always used to see myself as like a really positive person. But the reality of it was I was actually more like in my fight or flight, serious, not able to have a laugh. So now that I've experienced this, I've realized how much I was like on the other side of things. And that obviously has impacts on everything in your life, not just how you feel within yourself, but how you interact with others, with my work colleagues, with friends, and even with my partner. That has been like a very, very big thing in my relationship. And the relationship part, which we spoke about before, is obviously probably the biggest part that I wanted to touch upon today, because thinking back, if I didn't take IH, it probably would have cost me my relationship. When I made the decision to do IH, that wasn't a thought in my head. But reflecting back, I've realized how I've started to go this way, and I was actually heading in that direction. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. And to probably expand a bit on that, it's the first time I'm in a conscious relationship. And for those of you who like are aware of that or know about it, it's a very different dynamic. So for example, it's one thing to unconsciously act out on thought patterns and emotional patterns, and basically like you're conditioning your past experiences, and also projecting like your emotions onto the other person, or projecting past trauma, basically. And it's another thing to do that when you're trying to live a conscious life. And I think, in my opinion, the kind of main point of being on this personal development journey and also living a conscious life is about that responsibility. It's about taking radical responsibility for your life, which includes all of your experience, your feelings, your thoughts, everything. So that has been like a real challenge for me, in a good way. It's obviously, I've experienced so much growth in the last year and a half. And with integrative healing, it's allowed me to understand how things work a lot more. Like, I feel a lot of the confusion and that kind of, those emotions arise a lot of the time because you don't have a zoomed out vision of how things actually work, what emotions are, why they come up, triggers, all of these things that I feel like I've implemented in my relationship, and that honestly has improved so much.
I love that. I just love everything that you said. You know, let's just repeat that line. Like, you know, if I hadn't done this work, if I hadn't joined integrative healing, it could have cost me my relationship. And I didn't realize that at the time. And this is because life only really makes sense when we look backwards, right? We can only like kind of put the dots together when we look backwards. And so, relationships is a huge part of what we do. We really look at, it's exactly you're saying, responsibility for all of my stuff, and trying to not project this onto our partners as much. So it's when you're in a relationship and that you're doing your work, it's completely different to a relationship of not doing your work. Yeah. So many people are stuck in patterns and are stuck in patterns of really dissatisfying relationships without understanding the roots, without understanding what part they're really involved in. And so when you start doing the relationship work, it can be a bit of a shock, because you're kind of like, this is all on me.
Yeah.
This is mine. And it's like really uncomfortable. But then you realize there's this great freedom in it, because if it's yours, you can change it. It doesn't mean that we tolerate everything from our partners, and sometimes the learning is to leave the relationship. But when we're actually taking responsibility for our stuff, it's extremely empowering. And just to note on what you were talking about, your mood is generally better, even though you've done the mindset work. I think what people, before joining integrative healing, I think what people don't realize is that we hold emotions in our body, and that affects our emotional state. So when we start coming to the clearing work, we're basically clearing out all of these old emotions that we've not fully felt, and the byproduct of that is just feeling better. Because maybe, let's say you've got frustration, resentment, and you've had that your whole life because it got trapped from your lineage, or it got trapped when you're a little girl, then you've not actually got a memory of life without that resentment and frustration. So a lot of people that come into integrative healing and clear these emotions, they start feeling new states, right? States that they've never experienced before. Like you're saying, I thought I was joyful, and then I actually experienced joy and more sense of joy. And now I realized I was serious. And then, you know what, we could talk in 4 months. I mean, you'll be saying that I thought I was joyful 4 months ago, but now I've kind of experienced this whole new level of emotional wellness. And what I was feeling, you know, when we spoke last time, is nothing in comparison to this. And so it's like, the more that we do this, it's this spiral upwards, even though sometimes it is hard. I'm not going to lie that to you, you know, to take ownership of your side in the relationships, to take responsibility. These are all things that initially, to look at your trauma, you know, initially they can be uncomfortable, but the rewards are so great, you know. And just one of the rewards that you said is a better general normal baseline of mood, and the second one is the relationship that you want, right? How much is a relationship that works worth to you?
You can't put a price on it.
You literally can't put a price on it. Exactly.
And I actually want to add a few things from what you were saying. So the one thing is that luckily I'm very grateful to be with a partner who is very advanced in this journey. And so during these times, he leads with a lot of love and compassion. He's able to hold space for me when he also helps me make these realizations. And I think that is a very great thing to have, because yes, I'm taking responsibility for my part, but at least the other person is fully understanding that that's not my true self. That's just my conditioning acting out. And so it's a very amazing experience to feel, because it's not something that many people get to experience, unfortunately, in relationships. And another thing I wanted to explain was, from my background of mindset, my idea was like, oh, let me just replace all negative feelings with positive thoughts and basically bypass all that stuff and put it under a rug. So that is literally what you were saying about, I never used to allow myself to feel the emotion because I would always override it mentally. And I didn't know that at the time, but obviously with energy, like, you can't destroy it and you can't create it, you have to transmute it. And so I didn't know, but all of that energy was being stored in my body, whether it was resentment, anger, betrayal, whatever I had felt, sadness, guilt, and shame. That was just all in my body for years and years and years. And like, when you think about it, it makes me feel upset that I didn't actually honor those emotions that were just literally passing through me. I just needed to feel them for a couple of minutes and they would have gone away. And I think it's the great thing about IH is that you're literally teaching us the tools and empowering us with the tools so that we can then apply that in our lives afterwards. And then the last point was that it's funny, we haven't even reached the relationships module and I've already like, do you know what I mean? So it just goes to show that people always think that like they bypass doing the work on themselves, but they don't realize that doing the work internally is literally what shifts your external reality. And I was actually speaking to Corinne the other day, and I was just sharing my experience about IH, and I was like, it's so funny how illogical things are. Like, I would never have thought joining IH would help my relationship or would help me in business. And it's actually helped clear so many things that I'm literally working on a new offer for my new personal brand business. And it's like, you're not holding a business container. Like, I've invested thousands in business coaches, programs, Tony Robbins events, all of this stuff. And it's so funny that I was just missing the healing piece in order to actually take action on everything that I've learned. So I hope that any of this resonates with other people and they can actually see that, like, everyone needs healing. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to do the healing work, but actually you'll be surprised by, like, the how can you say, like, the outcomes that come from it, or the results that come from it.
Yes, Imiie. Yes, so much of this. Okay, let's tap on business, because IH is not a business container, but we have a lot of business women, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, it's primarily business women. You don't have to have a business to join integrative healing, but this is the thing. We get confused. Our focus goes on what strategy should I take to make money? What strategy? What's the perfect methodology? And I think I'm coming into integrative healing, and I'm literally like, guys, fuck that. Like, it's like, it's 2% what you're doing, it's 98% your energy. And I think for sometimes that sends, like, people's head into a bit of a tailspin. And you know, what you're sharing is so common. People that have come after doing loads of business courses and they've not been getting the results, and it's because they've had blockages about taking action, or they've had blockages about, oh, the little dog's there. They've had blockages about various things in the business. And I think you said to me, one of the things was that came up for you was being seen. And so whilst we've got wounding around being seen, right, that's going to be blocking you in your business and you don't even realize, right? And so this is the same with business and the same with relationship. Like, you did your inner healing work, there was nothing changed in your partner, and your relationship got better. Right? You do your inner healing work and suddenly you're making more money. You do your inner healing work and everything in your life works better. This is the thing. It's like, the inner healing work is the key to it all. It's like the most important thing that you can invest in, but it's like, probably what we're taught in life is that it's superfluous. Is that the word?
I don't even know what that word means, but
Craig says this to me. He's like, Craig's my partner. I always say really fucking random words, and he's like, and that's not a word. I think I used the one that's just like tumultuous. I don't know. I'm dyslexic as well, but I come from a grammar teacher, my father, that says all these words. Anyway, I really got into a tangent. Hopefully someone listening to this can, like, drop it to a direct message to me, these words and how you say them. But what I wanted to quickly, before you come in, say about your partner, it's a belief that not many people have the opportunity to have these kind of relationships, because we are birthing a new world into being where everyone are in relationships with people that are doing the work, and you know, and that's the ripple effect of you doing the work. You inspire other people to do the work. My partner works with men who are doing the work, and I just feel like we're on this brink of a huge societal change.
I love how you always call those things out. You call out the stories, you call out the bullshit.
Yeah, that's literally my superpower, and that's probably why some people love me and other people feel deeply uncomfortable around me, because I'm like picking it all up. You know, it's a filter. It's my superpower. But yeah, what were you going to say before that, love?
I can't remember. What were we talking about? I think that was
what's giving you the shift in business.
Oh, the healing work was giving me the shift in business. Yeah. So I think I finished the point there. It's just that people who are more head-based really find it hard to accept the energetic side. And aside from learning it in integrative healing, I've also been learning it externally through books, podcasts, etc. And my partner is actually doing energy healing. So I've learned so much about it recently, and I'm just like, wow, this is a whole new world that no one has taught us before. It's like we're basically at a disadvantage in schools and things like that, because they're literally putting you through learning all this stuff that basically, I mean, I'm not using any of it now. And we would have birthed a much more beautiful, caring and loving world if we had this knowledge from when we were kids. And I think it's so great as well. Another thing I wanted to touch upon is the whole ancestral thing. Like, what I love is that when we're doing the healing work and we're committed to it, we're ending it there. We're not like consciously passing it down to like further generations. And I think that's literally so revolutionary in itself. And that's not something that I even understood was a thing literally a year or two ago. So yeah, I think I'm super, super grateful for you creating this program and holding this immense space for all of us women who are all going through our own stuff. And yeah, you honestly like I can't think of a better way to do healing, because the way you've set it up has literally got everything that you need. It's like so comprehensive, it's integrative, like you said, with multiple tools and modalities. But the main thing that I want to share of like the benefit that I'm getting from this is honestly the accountability and the integration. I think those two things, we're going to have to cut out my puppy barking. Okay. Those two things for me have been life-changing, because that's the two things that I literally didn't have in my previous mentoring containers. And just like other things like Tony Robbins events, like they're very long, very comprehensive. You literally experience shifts all throughout them. But then when you return to normal life, it's just kind of like things just become more mediocre, I'd say. Like it's very hard to stay in that very beautiful peak state unless you've got accountability and unless you're integrating. So I'm very, very grateful for that, because those tools are also going to help me in other areas of my life as well. Learning how to integrate other pieces of knowledge instead of just like consuming everything. I'm now starting to do one thing, repeat to actually integrate it. So yeah, I think that was my part on the healing and helping with business.
I think I'm going to close with this, because you've just described something so powerful. We live in a world right now where we have so much information so readily available, and there are so many short courses. And I really want to, when I share this, I'm not saying that there's a wrong or right. I'm just explaining the structure in the School of Integrative Healing. It's a minimum of 8 months, because I've seen that we need time to create long-term change. So a short course can get you into a peak state. You can have a shift, but it's just like what Imiie was saying. It's so hard to maintain. We go back to our old patterns and our old way of being so easily. And that's actually, you know, in integrative healing, we do 4 classes a week, which might sound like a lot, but it's not, because it's consistently bringing you back to the peak state. It's consistently reminding you of the new thought patterns, beliefs, ways of being, because we forget so easily. And so it's not just that accountability, but it is that it's that consistent practice of the same thing that we don't do on our own. We just don't, you know, there's so many people that learn so many tools. And I've had this after other courses. You know, you said after the immersion, I loved the tools, I'm not using them on a daily basis. And so it's like, you know, it's like having a gym in your house. You've got the tools, you've got all the machines there, but you're not going. Not going. And so integrative healing, the School of Integrative Healing, it's like we go to the gym together 4 times a week. I love that. And it's like that. It's like we go to the gym together. Sometimes we do mindset, sometimes we do emotional clearing, sometimes we do shamanic processes, sometimes we do a study. It really depends. Meditation, sexuality, relation. We do so many things, but we're really showing up to that gym so you can get the results, right? And the final thing that I really wanted to close on is you were talking about that schools aren't teaching this. And so we're getting to adulthood. And I have a lot of people that come to me, and this kind of falls in the, oh, I feel like I should be able to do it alone. I feel like I should know how to do this. And the truth is, we come from an environment and for a society where we haven't been taught. And I came into the healing because I was actually struggling with mental health problems from about, well, I can't really remember not having them. But by 19, I had several mental health diagnoses, and my mum, you know, was diagnosed from 19 till death. And I just came to this awareness that there is not support, there is not education, there are not systems to hold people. And it was really birthed from this, wow, I really need to create this. This doesn't exist. I need to create this. I need there to be a school that educates and empowers women on healing. And again, that second piece, not just healing, how to create an extraordinary life, right? Because healing leads to manifestation. Healing leads to the extraordinary life. It's one of the same. It's 2 sides of the same side of the coin. Is that the phrase? And I truly believe that we're entering this new time, and and I'm saying it so more people start to believe it, we start creating it, but we're entering this new time where there is more awareness, where it is more normal to enter these programs, you know. And I've got lots of mums in integrative healing, which I adore. Obviously have your mum join integrative healing, but we have lots of mums, and they're passing it down to their kids. And so there's new kids that are being educated in different ways, and hopefully this will keep feeding down into new systems and initiatives. And you know, the ripple effect of choosing to do this yourself is enormous. And I really believe that that's such a huge mission of why I'm here, and why I even built integrative healing, the School of Integrative Healing, in the first place. So are there any final notes that you want to close on, Imiie? If not, I think we're gonna say bye, and I've really had fun.
Amazing. I did have one point, but it literally just like flew out of my head.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, it was actually really important.
You'll be laying awake in bed at night tonight, and you'll be like, shit, I should have said that on the podcast. That was it. Was it to do with
oh, I remember. It was about how you were saying that it's an 8-month program, and this was actually something that I was reflecting on yesterday and a few weeks ago as well, is that I realized that we've got to halfway of the program, and I was thinking like, wow, imagine if Hannah still had it as a 4-month program. Like, at this stage, everything's kind of like becoming cleared, and I'm starting to get clarity. Imagine if it was all to end now and I didn't have the accountability to continue on. So I definitely think that's like a huge thing. For it to be so long, like 8 months, I think honestly, if you did it like a 3-year university program, I'd be enrolling on that. That would be like needed. And then the last thing I wanted to close on is I actually heard something yesterday, and they said, don't manifest anything until you've done the healing, because you can only manifest up to the level that you're at, like your consciousness, basically, up to the level of your consciousness. And I was like, wow, that hits deep, because we always like try and bypass the healing and go straight to the manifesting because like it's cool or whatever, and they don't realize that you can literally only manifest who you are at that stage in your life. So yeah, I think that was an amazing podcast session. I really enjoyed it.
Boom. Closing on that, you've got to feel the icky things. You've got to do the healing work to have what you want. So many people focus on just the having of what they want, and they're not willing to do the things that get them there. But if you are feeling that you want to do the things to get you there, integrative healing is the right place to do it. You can hop on the link below. You can join us for your 8 months. I'm now thinking of a 3-year university course because it has inspired me. And we have so many women that do, you know, repeat loops. Think of it not as a course. It's not a course. It's like a commitment and enrollment and investment in yourself. But you can be with us for as long as you want. And that's why I do have women for years, because it's just that keeping you in that peak state and that frequency of what you want. So it's been amazing.
Yes.
I'm gonna love you and leave you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories and your wisdom.
Of course.
And we'll see each other on classes very soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Ciao, Poppet.